the name is the face in the game of graffiti. What this means, for me, in the graffiti game, where most of the people hide their face and they keep anonymous, so their life is hidden, the second life is hidden, and the only thing that is visible is the name. So this becomes the icon, this becomes the visual of the personality. You don't see a character, you don't see even a silhouette. Sometimes you would never hear a voice, you never see a picture of the person. You see letters, you see pieces, you see throw-ups, you see characters, you see artworks. The name is the physical representation of this persona. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome back to the second episode of Kind Regrets podcast. I am very happy to announce that we actually have a name for the podcast. The past week I have been working, thinking, and developing the whole project and concept and figuring out where this is gonna go, how it's gonna go, and it has been an interesting experience, interesting thoughts, and also I had interesting feedback, comments and emails, DMs. A lot of people contacted me, of course, a lot of positive vibes, some critic. I also asked people, and I'm still asking for critics. I want to hear and to learn and to make it better. The past week has been very interesting, very busy, a bit more clear, or to give an update of how things right now I see them and what has changed. Of course, first of all, we have the name of the podcast. The name is Kind Regrets. It's something I also painted recently, and I like this play of words. I like the meaning. I like the fact that it's something also that relates to regrets, because I'm giving a bit of a retrospective about the past and about the whole culture and my visions that you will see with the next episodes and the talks, that I will also tell you about visions in my career, that they have changed, that they have evolved. So I will not call them regrets, and that's why it's not a regret, but it's a lesson, and I think Kind Regrets fits very well in this criteria, let's say, and also it has the meaning of as a signature when you send an email, these corporate emails, that you write something that you don't even know or that you don't mean. So I really like that it has this touch. So regarding where we find the podcast, where we hang around, so this is the most important thing I want to message you on this podcast, on this broadcast, because everything is developing. How and where, which channels I'm gonna use. We have the YouTube, where I put the podcast with the video, and we have Spotify. This is for now where you can find, subscribe, and follow the podcasts. And we have different social medias. I have my personal social media, and there is a social medias for the Kind Regrets podcast. You will find all the links in the description. The most important thing is, because since I want to gather the community, the people who are interested, who want to discuss, who have questions, who have suggestions, who want to give me a feedback. And I want to gather everybody in one place, and this place it already is, I have created it. It's a group chat in Telegram. I have my personal Telegram channel, Good Guy Boris on Telegram. There we will have a link to a private group where we will hang around and we can discuss the episodes, the future episodes, requests, ideas, comments, and memes, and anything else related to the podcast. Short story long, I wanted to record today a podcast, or the second episode or the next podcast, to be regarding one topic. Then I had also another topic that I wanted to speak. But after recording, seeing the first episode, listening to it, having the feedback and have the interaction, and having the overlook and the sleep after, and the time and my projection of where to go, how to continue the story and to make it sense, I figured out to pull something else because I think the conversation we had in the first episode was more or less complete. Of course, we just scratched the surface on the topics that we could go deeper and deeper. But I think as a whole, it's a good standing conversation regarding one thing, which is the spot. And before I dive into the next different topics, I will go to something that is related or something that logically comes to me after talking about all the mysteries and all the concepts around the spot. Because I don't plan and I don't have the intentions to create this as a lecture, and I don't want to create to be the person who is explaining or who think he has the authority to explain what is what and how it's done. Like, this is definitely not my intentions. I'm sharing my thoughts. I'm sharing my observations, and of course sharing my experiences from my whole life connected to this art, to this movement, to this subculture. Not only, of course, I don't want to speak only about graffiti, but okay, we started there, so logically we have to continue with this. As I look into the concept of name, I see it as a creation of an avatar. What I mean, when you're born, your parents give you a name. My name, for example, is Boris. My parents named me Boris after my grandfather, and the government accepted and wrote this name in a capital letters, and I become liable legally with these letters, with these capital letters, and with this name. So I go my life with this name. I happen to like my name, but some people don't like their name. And as some people don't like their name, they don't like many things, and we can also even say that they don't like a reality. So we're talking about here this video game of graffiti that allows people to create an alternative reality, an alter ego, an avatar, a character in a video game. So before everything starts in graffiti, the first thing that happens is like you sit somewhere and you're like, okay, what will be my name? Like, if I have to write graffiti, because we're saying we are writing graffiti, we are not painting, we are not doing drawings. It's called writing. It's letters, it's name. This is the very base. Of course, people approach differently. I have said multiple times, we're not gonna put the borders, but we're gonna try to speak generally about this graffiti thing. Of course, somebody do more figurative stuff than other, but we're not gonna go off topic. So you create a name, you need a name. I was sitting as a little kid and I was like, okay, what will be my graffiti name? It will be this. Like, I use the stupid name that I used to play Counter-Strike, and this was my first tag. For many people and different people, it's different. Sometimes the name is given. Like, somebody can give you the name, you say, yeah, you are Chuck 2, you are Smash 5. It can be anything, anyhow. But for example, if you sit and you choose your name, this already creates the difference. Like, okay, what is the name that sounds like me? What is the name that fits me? What is the name that will give me respect into the game? And what it will be the name that I want to look up? So you start already building this alternative reality. This is the beginning of the second life, we say. And the more you enter into the name, the more you enter into the game, we realize, or I realize, like, the more it's going to this second life. Like, you start to build a persona that plays a game with a certain rules and certain codes and certain unwritten rules, which actually is another or different persona than you. Most of the people, because hiding anonymity, they create a second life, this alternative life where in the night you are painting, you're hiding your face, so you have the name. And why I'm going to this point is because the name is the face in the game of graffiti. What this means, for me, in the graffiti game where the people are not showing their faces, they want to have anonymity. They're trying to protect their anonymity for the most of them. Of course, there are exclusions. For example, me, somebody who doesn't hide his face. Like there are people who doesn't hide the face, but most of the people hide their face and they keep anonymous. So their life is hidden. The second life is hidden, and the only thing that is visible from these characters, from these avatars, is the name. So this becomes the icon. This becomes the visual of the personality. The letters, the character. Imagine the character of a video game, as you can see Nico Bellic. You see Nico Bellic in GTA 4, and you see his face, you see his posture, you know how he looked like. In the video game of Graffiti, you don't see a character, you don't see even a silhouette. Sometimes you would never hear a voice, you never see a picture of the person. You see letters, you see pieces, you see throw-ups, you see characters, you see artworks. So the name is the physical representation of this persona. If we look from a marketing perspective, the name becomes the brand. This is the moment when you create this name and when you start to shape it and to work on it, to develop it, to deliver, to create with it, to exploit it. You have already created a brand, because I think some graffiti writers, they understand it. I really go not pro regarding branding and marketing to graffiti, but for me it's absolutely related. And we can see like people who have studied design, corporate identity, who understand these concepts, they have success in graffiti and they understand better how to play the game in a more structured, more strategical way. I think once you create the name, you choose the name, you pick the letters, you start to sketch, you start to think. This is the first step that you take. It's like you have created your the base, and everything else is ahead of you can change. Of course, the name in graffiti for the graffiti writers also can change. Like we don't say you create the avatar once, you create the character or you create the name once and then it's gone. This is something that it's irreversible. No, of course, some people change the name, but what one can observe about the name in graffiti is that the name is one of the most constant things that we have, because once you pick the letters, when you log them in, and when you start to sketch, when you start to paint, when you put some effort in it, some hard work in it, some paint, some money, some years, and you work on this reputation keyword we'll speak about after. It's hard to log out and to change the character, because like, okay, I already chose. First of all, you have chosen the name yourself, and you can of course get bored, but most of the time it's like, okay, this is the name I created. It's not the name that somebody gave me. Why should I change it? So the name is one of the most constant thing that stays into the life or into the career of a graffiti writer. The name can transcend as well. Like you can transcend from graffiti to music, from music to film, to friendship, to your family. Okay, your family probably not gonna call you by your tag. This will be a bit abstract situation, but your friends, like your peers at school, the people you go to the bar that you hang around, they probably call you by your tag, by your graffiti name. You are not anymore Boris. You become Joseph 36, for example. And this is something that is pretty much interesting, and that is one of the things that we can say that stays constant, because the other things in graffiti changes, like the approach, the style, the support, the intentions that you want, your attitude. Your peers can change. Like you can change crews, you can change countries, you can change so many different things, but the name most of the time stays the same. Of course, again, there are some aspects that the name transcends, and it can also require a changement, or you want to change it because you get tired of it. You want to give birth to another personality. It can evolve. We can go into this concept further. But before all of this, I want to go back to the point that we say, okay, the point of the game. When we say it's a video game or it's just an art game, you call it, or as I said in the previous podcast, like this is very competitive sport. This is something that you go, you start to do, and you start to compete with others, willingly or unwillingly. Because some people enter into the graffiti and they do graffiti not with competitive intentions. It happens. There are some people that are friendly. They don't want to have beef. They don't want to go against each other, against other people. They just want to create. They just want to express themselves, and they just want to have fun. Like they don't want to have the competition, or probably they don't want to have the competition until certain level, until some point, because even though when you go to paint and you want to develop your style, you want to paint more, to paint larger, you're competing. And I think everybody who watches graffiti and you paint graffiti watches what other people are doing, and he's like, wow, he's doing such a nice graffiti. I want to do also this nice, or I want to do better. He's doing this big graffiti and I would like to do better and better. So when you enter in this game, you understand, willingly or unwillingly, you understand that this game is competitive. And besides the fact that the game is competitive, what I observed when I started thinking about this topic is something that came a bit of a negative to me. And this is the part that actually, after realization, after thinking about the concept and what we're doing, it's like, graffiti is a ego trip. It's a festival of the narcissist. It's absolute Olympics of egomaniacs. Why? Because what is the very core of graffiti? The name. What is the name? The name is you. You stand behind the name. This is the representation of artist is the name into the graffiti world. It is not your face. It is not your voice. It is not how you look like, how you dress like. Of course, this thing can be part of it if you become a public persona. Like for myself, like people know my voice, people know that know my face, they know my humor. You know, they know my accent. But this is different. As of course, it's not only me. We know other artists not only by the name, but most of the artists you know by the name. Take Banksy, for example. Few people know Banksy personally, who he is. Most of the people know him for his art, for his signature, for his creativity, and many artists would like to remain anonymous and to stay like this. So the whole game, the whole thing remains, and it's focused about the name. All the art, everything, the whole thing that represents the brand is the name. It's not the face. I have a very deep, positive sentiment from graffiti. I personally never felt in this negative way, in this egomanic obsession. Of course, I had my episodes and my different ego levels in my career. I started with a graffiti name, for example, just to paint a picture and to explain. I started graffiti, and I had, before Boris, I had a graffiti name as everybody else. The name was 4 letters. No, first was 5 letters, then was 4 letters. I switched names. There was not a big, there was not really a concept behind my name. There was not really a big meaning, not really, absolutely no meaning. It was completely random. Even one of my names was just, I constructed a name from letters that I liked, that were going good with the flow for writing. So if we come back to the concept of the video game and say, if a graffiti artist create his image or his name, the character, we have the letters. He starts to play this video game, the very beginning, with the letters. And imagine, we don't have a face, we don't have a character, we don't have a figure, a silhouette of something doing. We have just the image of the letters. what this image of the letter start to do, what one writer start to do, he start to plan and he start to figure out, to map the world, to map the social circles and how to express himself, how to communicate his brand, how to communicate his message, his intention, how to express himself. And also this transcends or go completely parallel with the reputation, which comes probably exactly after the name. When you create the brand, it comes the whole thing and how the message and how this character in the video game, how it plays. What is the character? Is it a murderer? Is it a good person? Is it a super ambitious, super crazy? Is it loyal? Is it a snitch? Is it somebody like is he using cheat codes in the video game? How exactly this character perform? And this is the reputation that he builds, because people tie more into the graffiti world. I believe they tie more, and it's much more important, the reputation of a certain name or of a certain artist than his style and his accomplishments. Of course, the accomplishments and his styles also builds and help to build a good reputation, but also he can have a bad reputation. Example, you have a graffiti artist who have done the most unloyal things, snitching his friends, betraying his friends, leaving them behind, stealing paint, going over somebody else, sleeping in somebody's house and stealing their computer when they're left alone in the apartment. It can be so many bad things that brings a bad reputation to a person. So you say, oh, Boris, he is a good guy, he did this, he's doing this, and he have done this, and he have helped me and helped other people, and he's helping the culture. Or the opposite, oh, Boris is a snitch, he stole, he uses everybody, he does this, he do that, he's a cloud chaser, blah 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 blah. So yeah, most of the times when we speak about graffiti writers, we immediately put the label and we start to speak about their reputation, and we speak about their accomplishments or counter accomplishments, how to say, their failures. So once you start to play this game, and once you start to do whatever you do, as you do it, you start to build the name's reputation. You start to collect experience, let's say, like in a video game. You start to collect points and to make another level, to open another level, and to open another level. What I mean when I say I see this culture not in this positive way as I see it when I was young, because now I'm a bit more mature and and I see the things differently. And after I'm observing and learning, it's like, okay, a friend of mine, I was having a drink with a friend of mine. We were at the seaside on a balcony, listening to Eminem's new album, and super hyped into the music. And we were discussing. He was into music, I was into graffiti by this time, and we were discussing the links between graffiti and music. And it never went out of my mind when he said, graffiti, no, hip hop generally, like all the elements. If graffiti is a hip hop is another question, but let's take graffiti as a part of the hip hop culture, and we say one of the elements, breakdancing, music, all of these practices, all of these hip hop elements, they are all competitive. And as he say, like hip hop is measuring each other's ding dongs. This is it. It's just a competition of whose ego is bigger, who do more, who performs better, who earns more. And we observe this everywhere, and we observe it into hip hop. Meaning we see it in rap. You know, we have the rappers, the gangsters, the trappers now. Back in the days, nowadays, it's like, yeah, my chain, my car, my woman, my house, my this. I'm better than you. I'm a bigger rhymer than you. I have more money than you. My mom is better than you. I don't know. Everything is me. I'm better. I'm bigger. Of course, you know, you have Mos Def, for example, and some rappers that they said at some point, okay, let's stop chaining, and let's stop trapping, and let's stop the mumbling and I'm bigger than you, my ding dong is bigger than yours. At some point, it's like, yeah, okay, let's put a message. And the same thing in graffiti, the same thing in everywhere. Like at some point, people understand is okay. It's not only about this competition. It's not only about to run against each other and to enter into this toxic. I'm better than you. I'm better than you. I'm. It's the rappers. They did it. Of course, the artists. They did it. And people who realize that this is not such a positive thing to do. They created different movements, different ways, different way of expressions, and in this way also graffiti and music and hip hop generally, or you take actually everything, it evolves into something more positive, because here we are going to a point that I want to do, and I think I did in the previous podcast, and I think it will go again and again and again. Being a good person or being a bad person, like what is your intention, what is your core feelings, who you are, what do you want to do, what is the message you want to transcend? Do you want really to spam with your name all the time? Do you want to create a message? Do you want to change the world? Do you have a political message? Do you want to fight against injustice? Graffiti, hip hop is anti-establishment, right? It's like, okay, against the government, against all authority except my mom, right? But in the same time, it's like we are all against each other because it's infinite and non-stop competition. Who will do better? And of course, it can be the competition can be taken and looked upon as something constructive, because okay, the more somebody paints, the better he paints, the more cities he travels, the more beautiful graffiti he paints, or the more successful his career transcends from graffiti. Another topic, it's of course pushing others and it's pushing the scene. But at the very core, my point is to return, we can discuss all these points, but it's also for another topic. If we speak, for example, going how the career transcends into a gallery of an artist, but this is another topic. This is like, okay, do you really want to transcend into to gallery? This means like I want to return all back, and we go back to the core and to the generalization of the thing, because of course everybody goes on its way with the years passing and with the career, the name, the reputation, but at the very core, the graffiti is this narcissistic Olympics where somebody push and spam his name. It's spam. This is spamming. You're a spammer. We are spammers. It's like, okay, you go into the public space and you start to write your name. This is like sending emails to people who didn't sign up for your newsletter. Like nobody asked for your message. Nobody asked for your thing, but you say, yeah, no, it has to be there. I like to be there. I want to be omnipresent. Graffiti provides me this omnipresent, and this is where all these psychological aspects that graffiti provides to young adolescents, where they can see their name, you can walk the city and you can see your omnipresence. Yes, I'm everywhere. Yeah, I'm here, I'm there, I'm this and this. You have this satisfaction of being something, you being somebody. You are in this second life on this alternative universe, in this video game, and you think you are something there. You don't do it in the real life in the classical way or in the reality as other people will do it. Another thing that the graffiti second life, the graffiti alternative reality provides, this is the sense of immortality. You think that when you paint graffiti, when you leave some pieces here and there that knowingly or hopefully they're not gonna disappear, or if you paint murals or name it, you really believe like, okay, something will be left behind. That's why we have this also, the problem of beefs, because somebody come and takes your spot, or somebody, the city destroys your graffiti that you have achieved, or you have invested paint and effort, etc., etc. So that's why you take it by heart, because you do something with the intention that this thing will stay longer and it will even stay after you. I can give you a very powerful example that I had in my life. And this was when I was working with a French director in Paris. He was making a documentary for cinema. And we had to meet for an interview a lady, go to her house and to speak to her, to interview her for this documentary video for TV. And the point was her son passed away. He had an accident. He deceased. He passed away. Very young boy. Very sad story. But the most powerful, no, not most powerful, but even more. What even took me so powerful at this time, it was like going to meet this lady and speaking with her about her son and about her experience. And I saw something that for sure I don't want my mom or any mom and any woman and any man to experience in the world. But this was she was holding the sketches of the little boy, and she said, yes, right now when I walk the city and when I see his tags and his graffitis in the tunnel, and there I see a memory, and I'm so happy that some of them remain. And it's crazy. It's for her, the meaning of graffiti became completely different, and the for me became also completely different. I never think about it. I had this point of having graffiti as something post that will stay behind me, and people will see it and will remember me. And I'm even joking, it's like people telling me, yeah, I went there and I see your name, and I passed by this square and I see your name, and I went into the middle of fucking Greece somewhere and I see your name. And I'm like, yeah, remember me, remember to call, remember to when I'm dead, it's there for you to remember. So this thing that it gives also to graffiti, it's in a way, a delusion, a delulu, and in another way, it's something beautiful and something that you can kind of clinch, you can hold on. It goes on and on, the graffiti game, and this whole, what provides this second life. It provides you the sensation of adrenaline. We have I am going to action, a mission, it's illegal, the feeling of getting away when you don't get caught, when you paint illegally. It gives you the kick, it gives you the rush from it could be extreme speed, it could be extreme sport, it could be anything else. But like in the graffiti world, we have these replacements and little things that fit and feeds your desires. Last but not least, into the points of this video game is the sensation of tribalism, the sensation of belonging. When you start to go into to meet with peers, with like-minded people, you start to form crews and you start to move together to share the same values, regardless what the values are. Some crews has these values, other crews has other values, but you start to feel in a tribe. You're not alone anymore. So graffiti feeds also this part of your psychology and in your life. So you are more attached to it. You stay within the circles. You stay within the graffiti world regarding all these subjects, and you continue to live this for years, for many years to come. Like people are practicing until life is gone. We can say. So in my experience, when I start to discover and to realize that this circle, I will not call it a negative circle, but when I start to realize that actually the whole thing is ego tripping, and I'm building an ego, and I'm just feeding this ego with the graffiti and with the things I'm doing, I literally me personally, I approach, because I had a name, I had a typical graffiti name, and what I decided to do personally for myself was like, okay, I need to kill the ego. Something happened in my life. I might speak about the story in another topic, in another podcast. We can discuss this idea, but I will just tell it briefly. After the realization of this egomania that I found myself, I decided to kill the ego, meaning I decided to kill my character, my letters, my name, and to give birth to something different and something that is not entirely connected and based on ego in the way of the classical orthodox graffiti, let's say. So I said, okay, I will embrace the name that my parents gave me. I will use it. I will put my face. I already put my face outside, and I will be like, I think what I do is nothing wrong because I don't see it, and I was not doing anything wrong in this time, and I can stand behind it as a man, somebody who takes responsibility for his actions. I will not hide behind a mask, and I will use the name that my parents gave me because I'm happy with it. I should carry it, and also in order to remove the mask, to remove the ego, and to move forward on creating something different, to focus more on the message and not to focus so much on the name. Of course, this story has a lot of side stories and a lot of factors to say because I was in a place, I was in Paris. There was a different way that people play the game. Like, you couldn't really write your name on the trains by this time because if you repeat your name, they will use it, and your name becomes a legal liability. As in, they literally try to put and to create, to make the name of a graffiti writer as something, as a passport, as a government name, capital letters, and to tie you to every graffiti creation created with this name. So to say, for example, if your name is Boris, all the graffiti written with the name Boris to be charged on your head. They tried. For some people, they even succeeded because also some people snitch themselves. They recognize that they are behind a certain name. But the basic logic for me was this specific situation was not one Boris is existing in the world. Like, many people can exist, and this has been proven by other artists. And the topic has been. We can discuss it in another time. But what is important from what I'm saying is, like, yeah, the name in this situation became, and people started to use it, older people, when transcended from graffiti outside to the legal world, to the police, to the vandal squad, the police that goes against graffiti, they understood the name is the main concept, something of the main thing about the graffiti writer, so they try to use it against graffiti writers. And when I removed my name, I said, okay, I will create messages, not only because to avoid the legal liability with the name. Of course, I was not avoiding the legal liability because I was putting my government name on the graffiti, but I wanted to achieve something else, and that was to go out of the narcissistic circle and of this ego tripping mania, and to focus more on the message, and the intentions of my creations changed. This was for me the way, and I think this is the way when one artist transcends and one artist want to go out to stop the egomania. When you want to stop, when you decide to stop to prove yourself to others, or to yourself, or you want to do it in a different way, or you start to chase different goals in the game. This apparently and logically goes out of the graffiti game, and that's why I'm saying, yeah, the graffiti game, the main thing is ego trip, and everything else that comes, like if you create an art, if you show your personality, if you show this and this goes out of the borders of graffiti. Here we can, of course, people will come to debate, will come to discuss, because also it's not, there is no written rules. They are accepted and they are orally given from one to another. But there is no literally rules about this. But we have kind of accepted to agree, to disagree, and to shake hands on the very, very basic stuff. And this is one of it. And as I see it, most of the people will agree there. Because if I say, if we start to look on the how to get away from the ego tripping and from this egomania, the solutions are already there. They have been existing, and if you research, if you think, if you put your mind on it, it means like, okay, in order to not have your name and your repetition and to be spamming names everywhere, what you have to do, you have either to create something figurative, either to create a message, or either to transcend your art to different medium. Like you can enter into the gallery, you start to sell art, you start to create different type of media, but all of this is connected to different things that most of the graffiti writer doesn't like. And it's also a slippery slope because it's completely out of the main graffiti DNA. And not many people have the skills and the ability and the opportunities to do it, meaning to start to create different things and to change, to work on the graffiti and to transcend it into different mediums, to different spaces in a different way, or the language of graffiti. But this is, I'm telling you, here the line blocks and people say, no, this is where it ends. We're not speaking about graffiti. And I would say I agree. Here we're speaking about different things that comes from graffiti and people coming from graffiti, that they do different things. Name it. If they're creating clothing brands, if they're creating if they're becoming a contemporary artist, if they're becoming content creators on social media, if they're creating whatever it goes that today we see and people are doing based on graffiti, and they say this is graffiti, but it's not graffiti. If Sprite, the Coca-Cola brand, has graffiti in their advertising, that doesn't make them graffiti. That has the image of graffiti. It's something that takes the image and exploits it. And graffiti has been exploited extremely past years and continues to be exploited, to be taken out of context and to be used in a ways that generally the community doesn't like, but the community doesn't really have the voice to say what is going to happen, because the graffiti generally is illegal, and it's difficult to go into a legal confrontation when you are anonymous, when you are against the government, etc. And also, this where the DNA breaks, and why we say this is not graffiti anymore, because it already all of these things that I mentioned before, I didn't give a lot of examples, but I think it's more than obvious already. I said film, advertising, monetizing, printing t-shirts, selling merchandise, sculptures, whatever, entering into the graffiti world. We're entering in institution, and graffiti is against the institution, even though, of course, writers find the sweet spot or the way to make money and make living, which is a cool thing for the artist. I don't say it's bad, but we can say that it's not graffiti anymore. It's something else. And as I said, graffiti goes against authority, against governance, and against how we say, institutions. I don't want to be misunderstood here, because when I gave the whole spectrum, the whole picture about this alternative video game, alternative reality, second life, this escape of reality called graffiti, it's something that I discovered, I have thought about, but I believe I have went myself out of it. I have saved my ass, let's say. But I think we should not look at it on a negative way. We should look on the positive way, because me personally, I have a very good sentiment with graffiti. I never had this thought. I never see it in this bad way, and I never really, and I still don't think, like when I'm thinking about it, when I'm putting the concept right now, it's a bit weird to see that actually it has so much ego, it has so much negativity, it has so much competition and things that should be different otherwise, in my opinion. Maybe because I had a different experience myself, and I never had a negative experience from the very beginning when I approached to do graffiti. When I started, I was probably 14 years old. First I was sketching. Then I saw friends of mine from school, they went to do graffiti. I saw them, they literally had sprays, they did the graffiti, and they didn't want me to paint with them. I had to prove myself to enter in the gang, to be accepted, to paint with them. Then I continue, and I never stopped like a retard until now. I'm still painting graffiti. Speaking about graffiti, imagine, we're making a podcast about graffiti. And this is something that carry me. I had the graffiti all my life. Things happen, like of course this is I will not say this is the main thing I have in my life. I have my family. I'm privileged to have a lot of good things in my life that I'm very grateful for. But graffiti has always been there for me, and it has been a good experience for me. It provided me social circle. Like I had, and I still have friends from graffiti. I can say even that most of my social circles are built around graffiti. Not entirely, of course, but I still hold friends. My first crew members that were true friends. This is another topic about friendship in graffiti. I would like to speak about, but not now. And this is it. I still have. This is 20 years plus friendship. We even one of us will stop graffiti or some of us stopped graffiti, we continue to share way of thinking. We have, for example, we can share this anti-government, anti-establishment mentality, even though if we don't practice graffiti, but probably this is something that connected us back in the days, and it's like, okay, that back in the days was like, yeah, anti-establishment, and we paint graffiti. Now probably the graffiti is out of the context, but there is still friendship and there is still this, and it's like, okay, yeah, we're not based because we're against stuff. It sounds like negative, but graffiti provided me this friendship, and graffiti provided me when I was young the purpose to travel, the purpose to be open-minded. I should define what is open-minded, but this means to accept everybody for what it is, regardless religion, color of skin, and way of life. So it gives me bravery to travel. It gives me purpose to travel. It opened the door for many countries. I didn't have money. I was poor and I couldn't afford to travel. So it gave me a couch in places of strangers that were not so strangers because we had shared. We were sharing the graffiti, and graffiti allowed us to connect very easily with like-minded people, to be international network, and to have amazing memories and experience, to share tears, fears, sweat, muscles, break pieces of body, run from police, and amazing things, like creating from graffiti to art to documenting, like everything that has been into my life has been connected to graffiti, and I have such a positive vibe. And right now when I'm still seeing, and when I start to discuss and to look on all these aspects, and when I see that actually the very root, it looks ugly, I would like to say that it's not, because it hasn't been ugly for me. And this is the conclusion of what I would like to do for today's talk. This was the conclusion probably of the previous talk, and this will be the conclusion of every talk I will do. In the root of everything lays your intention and your approach to it. If you have a good intentions and good approach, you have good fruits and good results. And if you have negative thoughts, if you're a rat snitch, you have a bad results. Intentions and the root we have in our heart, and the thing that we want to do. We want to be good, we want to be bad, and what do we want to achieve? What are our intentions? And if you ask for unwanted advice, free bad advice, if you want good advice, subscribe and pay. It's think about, after you choose your name, the next thing to be not your reputation, and not to think about so much about the ego, but what are your intentions? Where do you want to go? What do you want to achieve? Because already has been so many years of art, not only graffiti. Graffiti is just the art movement, the biggest art movement of the world. And portray yourself, picture yourself. What do you want to? Why are you doing this, and what do you want to achieve with this? It will be much more easy to end up in the place that you want to go, and not to become a grumpy 40, 50, 60, 70 years old person who never make it, who is angry on other people that make it because they were more brave, more experimental, and then transcended in different ways, and they keep going, and they didn't stay locked into the cage of the rules of vandalism. So put this thing in your mind, put a good intentions. My personal advice, like, of course, if you want to be bad and to be a parasite and you want to be bad, do whatever you want. But if young people or even older people than me, more experienced people than me are watching, I think they should agree, or they will agree. It's like, okay, when you analyze the success of others, or when you analyze your own success or failure, you see it's like, yeah, okay, I had maybe the good intentions, but I didn't do the right moves, and the strategy was wrong. But when there is a good intentions, normally there is good fruits of your labor. Because I would just flip final thing. When I was young, I just remember now, and what I wanted to say is that when I was young and when I started to want graffiti, I wanted to be a terrorist. terrorist, the terrorist. I didn't think about creating, sending message, doing something meaningful, or anything like this. I just wanted to destroy stuff. So graffiti in the very beginning was a teenager wanting to express himself and be wild and be crazy in the lifestyle. And if somebody have followed the grifters or me for the many years, they know that I went a parkour from one person to another, not really, but okay, in the beginning we were wild and completely different approach what I see now in some youngsters, and I'm like, hey, okay, and I'm trying to guide, to help, to save some people the wrong steps that I have done, because I see a lot of young talent, and I'm trying to provide a platform to make them take the good steps, to learn quicker the do's and the don'ts, and to be able to wrap up, understand, and present themselves in the best light, because there is a lot of talent out there. The young now can have a completely good push if they find a good mentorship, like I had a good mentorship. I could have even better, but if somebody have the opportunity to get if you had an opportunity to have a mentorship, don't be an egomaniac thinking you will do everything on yourself and you know everything. Get the mentorship and learn and be the best faster, and create together, which is one of the most difficult thing in graffiti. Create together. So that's it for today. Thank you very much for staying that long, for listening again. To remind you what I said in the beginning of the podcast is that I would like to move all of you guys all together into a group chat, the ones who are interested to discuss future, present, and past episodes, topics. If you want to ask me something, if you want to suggest something, I have created a Telegram channel, Good Guy Boris, and in the Telegram channel there will be linked group specifically dedicated to the Kind Regrets podcast, where I would like all of us to hang there and to talk and discuss. The chat is open for now. I'm planning to make it private, and also for the podcast for now, everything is free. I'm dedicating 100%, so I will appreciate a lot. First of all, feedback, and if you want to follow and to not miss the newsletter, the mail list, it's in the description. And if you want to talk and to hang around with the community I'm planning to build and I'm building, come to the group chat on Telegram. Thank you and see you soon.